What's up YouTube, it's Reed with RCG Car Reviews here, and I am finally back after another like 5 or 6 month hiatus off of YouTube with an update video and kind of more of an in-depth tour on the GX for you all. I'm just kind of going to go over some of the more specifics of the car, and then also kind of talk about little things that I've done, how it's been to live with, and stuff like that. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So we'll go ahead and start with the outside of the GX, and I turned the hazards on because one of the little things that I have done to the car is, aside from the high beams, I've done a full LED bulb conversion on the car. It was just Amazon LED bulbs that I ordered. The front turn signals are LED now, which I really like. It just, I don't know, to me it has a more premium and upscale vibe. Also, with the front end of the car, you may notice that I did do a little bit more of a personalized license plate. I didn't pick what it says, I just like the black star there. And I figured before I went ahead and shut the hazards off, I would show the rear LED turn signals as well. The taillights are actually pretty difficult to maneuver out of this car. They're not horrible, but there's 2 bolts that hold them in on the, like, there. And then there's 2 over there. One of those was stripped, so whenever you see the duct tape that's holding that in back there, that's why it just turned into a complete mess. Also did LED reversing lights, and then the puddle lights all the way around the car. There's 2 on each side. Those are also all now LED. And I do apologize that the car is not 100% clean. I wiped it down with some detail spray 4 or 5 days ago or so, and obviously it's been driven since then, so it is a little bit dusty and there's some bugs here and there. But one of the things that I have noticed about this GX is that the front bumper for some reason seems to be ridiculously soft and easy to chip. The biggest one is this right here. This happened a couple weeks ago. If I can get the glare off of it. While I was on my way home from Dallas, something flew up out of the road. I don't know if it was a truck that kicked it up or what, but something hit right here. I don't think it really broke any mounts or anything, but it did kind of make this. This is the little nozzle where the headlight washer kind of draws back into the bumper whenever it's not in use. But it did take a little chunk out of that. There's a good chunk out of the paint here, and then it's all the way down to the black plastic in a couple little places. I don't really think it did anything to the headlight lens, and it also bounced up and hit the windshield, but strangely nothing happened to the windshield either. I mean, thankfully nothing happened to the windshield, but yeah, so that was pretty frustrating. There's various rock chips and stuff all over the front bumper. It's a highway car. It gets driven back and forth to Dallas quite a bit, but yeah. So as far as the way that the front end looks on the car, I'm still kind of up and down about it. Whenever these first came out, I thought these were the most god-awful looking things. Some of you may have recently seen a Doug DeMuro video where he was talking about how some of the Lexus vehicles look like they have a face grafted onto them that's not supposed to be there. And then he inserted a picture of one of these, and I kind of have to agree with him. Whenever the 2010 GX was released, the first year model of the 2nd generation GX, I thought it looked fine. It wasn't anything special, but then for 2014, whenever they revised it and this came out, I thought, my lord, what in the world have they done? And then here I am 4 years later owning one. So I've had it for about 6 months or so, and it has just over 36,000 miles. I think it's 36.3 or something like that. So I've definitely driven the car quite a bit. So having put about 8,000 miles or so on the car since I've had it in those 6 months, the tires are actually holding up pretty well, all except for one, and I'll go into that here in just a minute. When I get to the other side, I'll show it to you. But the chrome wheels still look great to me. The fronts do have a little bit of brake dust, so I apologize. It's pretty clean. They're 265/60 R18s. Eventually, I would like to level the suspension, just do like a leveling kit and do a little bit more aggressive looking tires. These are based on the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. That's what it's called overseas anyway, and it's known for its off-road ruggedability, and I like that look. So if that happens before too long, don't be too terribly surprised. And when I say before too long, who knows how long that's actually going to be. I did spend about 4 days doing a full paint correction on this car. It was brutal. but the outcome was really good. I don't know if it was quite as good as what I expected it to be, but overall it's really good. The paint is smooth and shiny. It beads water really well now. A lot of the lighter scratches and swirls were taken out of it, which I'm really happy about. The rear bumper has actually been replaced. I don't know if I said this in my first video on the GX I made or not, but the car was actually involved in a minor rear collision before I owned it, and I have all the service records for that. It was fixed at Park Place Lexus in Grapevine, so they did a great job. I think that might be part of the reason why this taillight has kind of a questionable screw there that ended up just completely stripping. But the mud flaps at the back, I really like those. They do prevent a lot of mud and stuff from being kicked up on the fenders. I like that a lot. Never had a car with mud flaps before, so you learn something new. As I mentioned, the puddle lights are now all LED. Literally every single bulb on this car but the high beams is now LED, so I'm really happy about that. Of course, the LED turn signals in the mirror, they are there. The backs of the mirrors whenever I bought the car were actually pretty dull looking, and same with the top of the roof spoiler back there on the rear door. So these actually shined up pretty well. I was really happy with those. One thing that I didn't completely realize how much I would appreciate is the blind spot monitoring on this car. It has completely spoiled me. I was driving some cars for work the other day that did not have blind spot warning in the middle of Houston traffic at rush hour, and needless to say, it was not the most comfortable thing. I guess I'm a lot more used to that than I thought I was. Something else that I would like to do eventually is to put some spacers on the front wheels. I don't really know if you can tell, but the front wheels sit in from the body panels quite a bit. So I don't really like that a whole lot. Another weird thing with the front suspension, I'm just gonna kind of go over every single thing that I can think of with this car, so bear with me. Whenever I'm making left turns and I go over any like undulation or bump in the road, it makes this odd little squeak or thump or something in the front end. I don't really know what it is. It just kind of sounds, I don't know, it just squeaks. The car doesn't drive any differently, but it's there and it's kind of annoying, but not that big of a deal. Also, another really weird problem with this car that has irritated my OCD self to death is, it's hard to tell in this video because the car is sitting on a slanted surface, but if you go out and look at any GX460 second generation that you find, you will notice that it leans towards the passenger side. I thought whenever I got mine, I was like, man, it doesn't sit even. So I just kind of Googled Lexus GX460 lean or something like that, and come to find out it is a common problem with the KDSS or kinetic dynamic suspension system that these cars have. I don't really like, it drives me nuts. Another weird quirk about that lean is it gets worse as the fuel tank gets closer to empty, so I guess that's some incentive to keep a full gas tank. I don't know. I've had the car in to Park Place for the problem, and they're like, oh, it measures within spec, we can't do anything. I've had the car into Sewell, Lexus in Dallas with the problem, and they're like, oh, it measures within spec, we can't do anything. And then I contacted Lexus Corporate, and they're like, well, if they say it measures within spec, we can't do anything. So Lexus knows that it's a problem, but there's not really a fix for it. So ideally what I would like to do is just completely gut the whole hydraulic suspension system and do just a more traditional, durable, long-term setup. I know that would probably cost a god-awful amount of money, but that's sort of the conclusion that I've been left, I guess. Really irritating. I don't know. I know that last video I mentioned the chrome exhaust tip was really stained and grungy looking. If you can tell, I did get some chrome polish and went after it with that, and it looks a whole lot better. There's just some drip right there from probably my lead foot that I had a couple days ago when I was driving. I was in a big hurry. Rear license plate is the same. I want to get these Park Place frames off of there just because Overall, I don't think that I would necessarily go back to Park Place to buy another Lexus. We've always had much better luck with the Sewell group. So next time it's in for service, which should be, well, when it gets to around 40,000 miles or so, I'll probably take it in. I want to, obviously I'm going to take it to Sewell, and I'm going to see if they'll throw some Sewell plate frames on it, and maybe even a Sewell dealership badge, just because I appreciate and respect their professionalism a lot more than the lack of all of that Park Place has shown us. So I'll get off my soapbox there. This tire back here is the one that I was talking about. This is not the tire that was originally back here whenever I bought the car. That tire doesn't even exist anymore. It actually caught I think it was a nail or something right near the sidewall, and car warned me, you have the TPMS went off and it said low tire. I checked the tires. Strangely, it doesn't tell you which tire is low, it just says low tire. So I checked the pressure, sure enough it was low, took it to Discount Tire, they found it, and they couldn't fix it. So what we ended up doing is purchasing it's a Cooper of some kind, and it lives up underneath there. Because they couldn't get these exact tires, and pulled that tire off of the spare that was under here and put it up front. And the reason we put it up front is because this tire is the one that was on the front initially, and if you can tell, there's a lot of shoulder wear on this tire. And that is because, due to the weird suspension lean, the problem lies in the right front corner of the car. Again, Lexus really doesn't know what to do about it. There's supposedly been like new springs or something that's been released, but they won't do anything unless your car's leaning a certain amount. I measured it, that it was leaning over that certain amount. They were like, no, it's fine. So kind of a he said, she said sort of game. But due to this lean, the alignment gets out of whack really quickly. So I have to keep it pretty close eye on that, or otherwise it'll eat this tire up just like it did that one. So this one obviously has the deepest tread, but strangely it's the oldest tire because it was the spare and it had never been used before. And because it was the spare, there's these weird little like dimples in the sidewall of it, because that's where it was pushed up against the frame and the body up underneath the car. So really weird, but that was kind of the solution we had to come to. I don't think I'll put those Coopers on the car. I want some, like I said, I want something a little more aggressive. But these tires, I've actually been very impressed with them. They've done some work on and off-road. We had a huge ice storm come through in mid-January or so. It was actually the first 2 days of the school semester that I was starting for this past spring semester. Classes were canceled, everything. It was probably an inch or so thick of ice all the way around town. Just sheet ice on the roads, and this car handled it phenomenally. I was thoroughly impressed. Didn't even mess with the center diff or anything. Obviously it slipped if you were not careful, but as long as you used your head, then you were fine. It blew me away, and that's why I wanted something like this. The Mustang was completely useless in any situation other than weather like this. I mean, it wasn't completely useless. I could obviously drive it in the rain, but it wasn't the most comfortable thing, not the most confidence-inspiring car to have in inclement weather. So this just does all things. It's not it's a jack of all trades, but really a master of none, if that makes any sense. Another thing that I had to do is I had to put new wiper blades on it, because weirdly the ones that Park Place put on it, which were Lexus blades, they even had the little L badge in them, they would catch wind at highway speeds and hop off the glass. So that was a little bit less than ideal. So I put some Trico, I think those are Trico Onyx blades, and I've been super happy with those, no problems. So we'll move around to the inside. Well, before we do, before we move around to the inside, I wanted to touch on the headlights on this car. They are epic. They are so good. I didn't know this when I bought it, but these two bulbs right here, or lenses rather, are actually the low beams. And the low beams, whenever you are going, they're auto leveling. So if you're aimed downhill, they'll aim up. If you're aimed uphill, they'll aim down. Really cool. High beams are just halogen yellows. I want to replace those at some point, but I don't really know what to put in there, whether it be something like Silver Stars DXEs or if I go for an LED bulb setup. Not really sure yet. The LED fog lights are excellent as well. I keep those on all the time. I have no problems at night with visibility at all. And then of course the little LED Lexus L swoosh thing for the daytime running light looks really cool when that's lit up also. So I'll grab the key out of my pocket here. This is Lexus's old smart key design. This is the exact same key that our 2007 Lexus GS350 had whenever we had it when it was new. So unlocking the car, you can see the LED bulbs doing their thing, and if it were dark you could see the LED puddle lights come on, but it's very not dark, it's very hot. Also, the door lights are LED and all the interior lights. So, literally every bulb. Go ahead and start it because it is really hot. So, coming to the interior of the GX, one of my favorite things is the cooled seat. That just kind of popped into my mind as that starts to work. I'll try and keep the camera microphone out of the AC vents so that doesn't cause any audio distortion, but those are amazing. The heated function works very well, but it's actually a lot hotter than that, so don't believe that. The car was sitting in the garage before I pulled it out here. The cooling function is phenomenal for Texas summers. The steering wheel, as some of you may have seen in my previous video, had a bubble in it right up here whenever I bought it. You can kind of see what's left of it right there. See that little area where it's lighter? That's where the bubble was, but the steering wheel still has not been fixed. Honestly, I'm probably just going to end up finding a wrecked one somewhere and pulling the steering wheel out of it and then taking it to one of my service appointments and saying, put this on. And I may have to take that to Park Place, since Park Place is the one that messed this one up and then refused to do anything about it. And in the process of messing this up, they got this finish and spray all over the interior. If you look closely at the windshield, obviously the camera's not going to pick it up, but right in here there's a bunch of dots of this clear stuff. There's stuff sitting on the wiper and turn signal stalks. You can kind of see that weird haze. I've tried everything that I know to do to take it off without removing the white letters, and so far nothing has worked, so that's wonderful. Of course, you've got all your steering wheel controls here. Volume, skip for your stereo. I've never even pushed either of these buttons. I know that this just changes like your source, whether you go like AM, FM, iPod, CD, whatever. Never used the voice control. Not a huge fan of voice controls. I just never have found it all that useful. I love Lexus's solution, and Toyota's as well, to cruise control. It's very out of the way, but super intuitive, so easy to use. If you've never used it, then find an opportunity and take it. It's really, really cool. This right here controls information in your center display. So that will tell you, like if I turn the wheels, you can kind of see the wheels turning. It's kind of a useless display, but I think it's more for like off-road and when you have the center diff locked and stuff like that. Cruising range 197 miles on just over half a tank. Not great. After refuel 13.5, this tank has been all in town, so if that gives you any indication as to how terrible the fuel economy is, there you go. Current, obviously nothing. And then average is 16.3 since I bought the car on December 8th of 17. That's probably 40% highway, 60% in town, I would say. I don't know, it honestly may be closer to a 50-50 split. I do a lot of highway driving. Average speed, 24. Elapsed time, all this stuff is pretty useless. This display is very rudimentary, nothing fancy at all. Obviously you have your gear selector, what gear you're in right there, and then you have your gear selector position, which is a bit redundant to me, but that's what they did. And then this will tell you if any doors are open, like if the back hatch is open or anything like that. If you see all this stuff right here, this is actually compound and polish that I used to try and clear up the gauge cluster, and it just left stuff everywhere. So it was a mess made worse. Just, I have a really bad taste in my mouth about all that, and then Park Place didn't want to do anything about it. Over here you have power folding mirrors. These are actually pretty nice for tighter parking places and stuff. I wish they were automatic, like when you locked the car or something like that, they would fold, but it's no big deal to just push a button. Mirror controls, gauge brightness, trip odometer right here, that just controls trip A. I guess that's the exact amount of miles I've put on the car since I've had it, because those were both reset whenever I bought it. Headlamp washers, I hate them. I wish they didn't do it, but every time I try and wash the windshield, just with a little squirt of windshield cleaner, it sprays the headlight washers and it goes all up over the hood and leaves water spots everywhere. Not a fan. Traction control off, use that a little bit in the ice. Fuel cap release, that gets used a lot with fuel economy like that. Hood release down here. I love the interior color of this car. It does not get too terribly hot in the summer heat, but it is also not too light that it shows absolutely every little thing. It's the perfect color. This was a must-have. It was either this or black, and now that I have this color, I'm so happy that I have this color. 6-speed automatic. It seems like it tries to slip a little bit between first and second gear, but all the GXs that I've driven do that, so I'm just gonna assume that it's normal. Here you have another area that has a weird quirk. There is no hard buttons for your fan speed, so I've had to get used to automatic climate control, which I'm not a big fan of, but it's not that big of a deal. You can go into climate and change your fan speed there, but I just leave it on auto because this system is pretty slow to respond. I usually, for my audio input, I use Spotify via my little USB here, and the stereo in this car is not the Mark Levinson upgraded. That comes with the luxury trim that I didn't necessarily need or want, and this quote-unquote bass stereo is more than enough. It's an excellent sounding system. I don't really use the in-car navigation all that much at all. It's just, it's out of date. I use Waze or Apple Maps when it's plugged in through USB, so it's really easy to just do that instead of going through all this and trying to wait for it to load and all that nonsense. I don't really, and I need to preface by all these little things that I'm saying, it's not me bashing on the car at all. Like, I love this car and I would buy it again. I wish I would have known about the suspension lean, but I would definitely buy another one. They're phenomenal cars. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I don't really like these dummy buttons though. It's just kind of a reminder, hey, you don't have every option. But this would be the height adjustable suspension, and then the suspension, like the different stiffness, sport, comfort, and in the middle or something like that. That comes on the luxury trims. The transmission does have a manual shift mode. Super slow to respond. It's just an old school torque converter automatic, nothing special, so I don't really ever use that. As far as engine and transmission responsiveness, it's not really anything special. It's adequate power, but especially in the summer heat like this, it gets kind of bogged down sometimes. I have to put my foot to the floor a lot more than what I thought I would to get it to move out of its own way sometimes. But it always does move out of its own way. It never has scared me or anything like that. So minor little niggle, but nothing big. Escort 9500iX, keep it mounted up here all the time. It works great. The home link also works well, so does auto dimming rearview mirror. The Mustang did not have that, so it's nice to have that feature again. Sunglasses storage, I don't really use it. I just keep them in this little tray right down here because it's kind of fumbly. You do have a conversation mirror, which is cool, but you have to kind of yank this down to get past these little tabs to put your sunglasses in there, and I'm always afraid I'm gonna smash my sunglasses, so I don't do that. Your safety connect right here interior lighting, sunroof. I haven't really used the sunroof a whole lot just because it went from being cold immediately to hot. So yeah, that was great. I do like when I have the car parked outside, I'll open the shade a little bit and vent it just so there can be a little bit of air circulating through here. Helps it stay a little bit cooler, but it just gets hot. It's Texas in the summer, it's miserable. LED interior lights here. These are super bright. I really like them. Not everybody's taste, but I'm a big fan. I did not change these to LED. I might need to do that when I finish filming this video. But vanity mirror with a light up here that I need to change. And this is all like 4-wheel drive controls and stuff like that. That tells you about locking center diff, high and low range and all that. And then of course you have your caution. It's gonna roll over. It's an SUV. So it definitely does feel top heavy, but nothing, I mean, the car's never scared me. I've never thought that it was gonna roll over or anything like that. Floor mats, I do wanna get some all-weather mats for the car, just because the carpet mats do get stained a little bit. They're not bad, they're dark, so they hide most stuff. But yeah, if I had a chance to get a set of Lexus all-weather mats, then I probably would take that. Dashboard is all soft touch up top, and then you have this stitched vinyl portion right here. It looks a lot like leather. I'm sure it's Lexus's New Lux stuff, and they do a great job with that. And it's padded as well, so it feels very upscale. Glove box is a mess, so I apologize about that. That's my nitrous mask for whenever I go to the dentist. I don't even know why that's in here. But yeah, it's a mess. But it's plenty big, it holds all of my crap. Same with the center console, plenty of room to put stuff in there. The cup holders are great, super usable, out of the way. Unlike the Mustang, which had them literally right behind the shifter to where if you had cups in the car you couldn't shift. So it's nice to have all these like normal car features again. Of course it has its cover, but I always keep it open because I usually have water with me in the car. And this cover also closes, but again, I have my cord and I use my little tray here for sunglasses. Coming over to the door here, all automatic up and down power windows, window locks right here, and then your door locks there, 2-person memory. Some of the newer Lexuses do have 3-person memory, and I like that a lot, but I'm really the only one that ever drives this car. My mom uses it every once in a while if she needs to pick up bigger things or something like that. But there's 2 bottle storages right down here. There's even a little label right there that says, don't put cups in here, put bottles in here. I've put cups in there and nothing has ever happened, but it has a lid, so yeah, that's besides the point. Everything from this point on the door down is hard touch plastic, but it's very well done. It's very sturdy. It's not overly flimsy. There's no rough, sharp edges or anything like that the Fusion had. So just, it feels like a quality, well-built car. I do like the silver Lexus kick plates right here. They do get scratched up and a little bit dented, obviously. That's just kind of part of having the aluminum trim there. So we'll go around to the back seat now. Materials exactly the same as the front door panel. Everything follows through just as it should on a car like this. The back seat stays pretty clean. It doesn't get used all that much, but if I'm out with friends or something, I'm usually the one to drive. This is sitting behind my driving position for my 6-foot frame. Leg room is more than enough. Foot room, the seat's a little low to the ground, but I keep the seat all the way down just because I like that feeling better. So yeah, there's more than enough room back here. It's very comfortable. The second row also slides. There's this little metal bar down here. You can slide it forward if you need to use the third row back there, or since I never use the third row, I just keep the second row slid all the way back. Armrest is really nice. There's plastic bag in there. I don't know why. But yeah, you can tell this car definitely gets used. But that's why I bought it. Leather, super padded, very comfortable. I wish this wasn't just this giant chunk of plastic here, but it's an old Lexus design, so I don't really care. I've never once ridden in the back of this car, so it's not bad. Rear climate control. The rear heated seats are a popular feature amongst friends and family. Everybody loves that. You also, in the doors back here, you have another bottle storage. Only one, but you could probably squeeze a second one right in there if you really wanted to. Map pockets back here on both sides. That's the temporary plate from when I bought it. And then there's just papers and stuff in there for school, and I think there's a few car papers in there too. Also, another thing that I forgot to mention is this slides the each side of the armrest slides forwards and backwards, but if you slide it forwards, then it covers up the cup holders, so I don't ever do that, but the feature is there if you want it. You do have rear vents back here, which it took me a long time of owning this car to realize that there were vents in the ceiling. I mean, I don't really know where I thought the vents were, because since they're not down here, but yeah, there's vents in the ceiling for the second and third row. So that's really nice. Again, bright LEDs. The headliner is this really soft, suede-ish type stuff. I don't really know what it is, but it's not that like paper towel material that Toyota uses in some of their cars. It does show where stuff has been dragged across it. I don't know what the right word is. So I'm not a huge fan of that. And I'm just now noticing all of this up here. That looks like it probably was used as a hanger, and it's a little loose, so it probably was used as a hanger. So I'll have to get a hold of that too. But second row, very comfortable. The seats do recline, and they also fold flat for if you need to use the whole thing for storage. And we have done that, and it hauls things very well. Lastly, coming around to the cargo area of the GX, after having an RX 350 loaner car for a couple of weeks while this one was in, trying to have all the suspension lean stuff sorted out, and that's not mine, that's my mom's. I just keep crap in it because we had it and I didn't want to buy another one. Weirdly, these things are really expensive. They're like 20 bucks just for a place to put your stuff. So yeah, I do have a couple bungee cords back here, and I flipped this mat upside down. That was another idea I got from the RX 350 loaner, is to flip this upside down and then stuff doesn't slide, which is really nice because the other side is just carpet. The third row folds up out of the floor back here. It's pretty small. I wouldn't really want to be back here. I would say, I don't know, I mean, if the second row was slid forward, it wouldn't be too bad, but definitely more for kids or smaller adults. There are cup holders and armrests and stuff back here, so they're not left out. There's also a home 120 volt power outlet right here, and I have had to charge things in here before, so that comes in handy. Again, these two storage areas in the back door. I wish the GX had a traditional lift gate so it could be power, and this door does get in the way sometimes, but it's no big deal. Something that bugs me is if the car's dirty, I will not grab it back here to pull the door shut. I always kind of grab it just like this and let it close itself. But this is a nice feature. I haven't really used it all that much because it's hard for me to reach in and over. But yeah, that's nice if you just want to throw stuff back there. LED third brake light up there, and the rear wiper hidden away. I really like the rear wiper hidden away. That just adds a cool premium touch to the car, I guess. I don't know. You just don't have it down here taking up space or anything like that. One thing that I do like a lot is the smart key buttons back here. This is lock and that's unlock right there. So that is super useful. And of course you have your backup sensors and parking sensors on the front, and your backup camera as well, and those are all very useful, especially for the front, because it has the attached front end that looks like it wasn't supposed to be on here, so it's easy to bump it into stuff. I haven't bumped it into anything, but I can see how it would be easy to do. So anyway, with all of that said, that I know that was just a ton of rambling and me going on and on and on about this car, but yeah, 100% would buy it again. I wish I would have known about the suspension lean issue. That way I could have tried to have had it fixed as part of the deal instead of doing it after the fact through warranty. But, you know, hindsight's 20/20. No big deal. Future plans for the car. I'd like to do some like a more efficient computer reflash, but the car's under warranty right now, so I'm not gonna mess with any of that. Again, I'd love to do just more traditional suspension to get rid of the lean, and some more aggressive tires, and a level just to bring the front end up to where it sits level with the back. But other than that, that's pretty much it. I appreciate you guys sticking with me through this long, rambly video, but I figured it was about time I get something else out there, and kind of went over all my thoughts on the GX. Next video, probably expect either something on the F-Type or a video of like what it's like to drive a GX or something like that. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I know I don't post enough really to warrant turning notifications on, but if you want to do that, go right ahead. I'd be more than happy to have you watch all the videos. But anyway, take care, and we will catch you next time.